Hey folks, Broken Meeple review, and it's Hadara today from ZMAN Games. This one's had a fair bit of buzz lately, so I had to get stuck into it. But there was a bold claim about this one. I mean a bold one. They were saying, oh, this is the Seven Wonders killer. Wow. Excuse me? Seven Wonders as in my number, what was it, my number 11 on my top 100? You're saying this is a Seven Wonders killer, eh? I had to jump on that hype train. So what is Hadara? Lord knows, I'm not entirely sure from the title, but Hadara is basically a very light drafting game. You take it in turns to basically draft these cards and build up your civilization, but it is very abstracted. If you think that Seven Wonders was abstracted, this is like a whole new level of abstraction. But the idea is that these cards of 5 different colours are laid out on these boards, which are somewhat superfluous to the game, but a nice artwork, so, you know, well, we'll go with it. But you'll notice there's purple, there's blue, yellow, red, green. There's all 5 different colours for this. And the idea is that on these piles, you will take it in turns based on this little wheel in the middle to draw 2 cards from a deck, discard one, and then do something with the other. You sell it for money, or you buy it for money, and it basically ups these tracks on your player board, which is a very nice looking player board. Basically levels up the tracks, and one is income, one is military, one is culture, one is food. And essentially that's mainly what the cards do, except the purples sometimes add in a special power or maybe like an endgame scoring condition. But you will do this whole thing, and then when all the cards are drained, you will then have an income phase and then a chance to conquer a colony or build a statue. They're basically based off military and culture. And then you do another draft phase, but slightly differently. Because those cards that you discarded, you now take it in turns to take a card off the top of one of the discard piles, and you can't look through any of them. And again, decide whether you want to buy it or sell it. Interesting little twist. You go through that until all the piles are drained, and then you repeat the income, military, and culture phase, and that's the end of Epoch 1, or Age 1, or whatever they call it. And you basically do this another 2 times for 3 epochs. The cards get progressively better, but also more expensive, and at the end of the 3 epochs, you basically just total up the points, and of course, most points is the winner.
Of course!
So that sounded pretty simple, right? And it is actually a pretty simple game. I mean, this is not a difficult game in the slightest. If anything, I dare say it's more simple than Seven Wonders in a sense. This one has some iconography, but not a lot of it, and some of it is pretty easy enough to deduce. Whereas Seven Wonders, you've got the money, trading with the person next to you, the different resources, what the victory points are, what conversion means, what's a wonder board, the military bit. You got a lot more iconography to get through in Seven Wonders. So the learning curve in that one is a little steeper than this one. This definitely feels a little bit simpler than that. The production quality is pretty sound. I mean, there's not a huge amount in the game itself. You've got a few chunky tiles for colonies. You've got the cards themselves, which are the standard, standard finish. They're very colourful though. The artwork is pretty good on them, but frankly, like I said, the theme in this is somewhat abstracted. I mentioned you were building up a civilization. You do not feel like you're doing that at all. This is straight up a pure, dry, engine building drafting game, so don't try going into this thinking, oh yeah, this is a cool Civ game. But the cards themselves are a decent finish, and the insert is laid out so that you can put the tiles in one place and the boards in another, and the cards can be in their own little divider slots, although there's quite a lot of wiggle room with them. So as much as it packs in nicely, I'm a little hesitant of storing this vertically. This is the lid, as you already guessed. I'm paranoid about storing it vertically because I'm afraid the cards will fall out and go everywhere. The boards themselves are pretty sweet though, I must admit. I mean, this is a very helpful board. It is colourful. It's got the holes punched out that you put these little bonus tiles in for points and more track increases. The tracks themselves are colourful, easy distinguishable. Victory points are easy to tell, the different bits are laid out, and you've even got your insignia, in which case this one's a monkey.
Monkey!
To tell you which deck you're drawing from on any particular turn. And the cards go below in these slots here. The only annoyance I have with this is that it only goes up to 10, and you have these little tokens. I wonder if I can find one actually. These things basically. And you probably can't see them much, but you'll get them on the pictures. But they're these tiny little arrows with plus 10 on them. And they basically signify, okay, you've reached 10 and now you loop back and do it again. You might have one track that doesn't go above 10 because you completely alienate it, but commonly you'll probably have at least one, if not two of these tracks that will munchkin like beyond belief, and you'll have 10, 10, 10, 10. It's not because it doesn't flip over to make 20 or 30, it's 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So you end up with about 5 or 6 of these things sticking out, and it's not bad, but it looks a little bit fiddly when you're trying to count up. Hang on, how many of these have I got again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 67. Right, okay. It gets to ludicrous numbers at times. But overall, it's a solid production all round, you know. I mean, especially the ZMAN games, decent artwork, decent component quality, an insert that works, you know, can't really fault it for that. But what's the game like to play? Well, that's where it starts off good, but then falters a little bit. Because, well, first off, 2 to 5 players. Oh god, the 5th player thing again. Well, yeah, I kind of go with that. I mean, 5 players is not excessively long, but the game claims 45 to 60 minutes. That's probably accurate if you're doing 2 to 3 players. 4, you're definitely looking at an hour, probably longer. 5, you're definitely looking longer. Yes, you're drafting, which is simultaneous, but then the drawing from the discard piles is in turn order. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players to do that. And of course, with the players going up, the card scales, you've got more cards to draw from. And of course, when you're drafting, it's all right saying it's simultaneous, but you've always got that one person who takes forever to like decide between 2 cards. And it's not like you've got a hard decision here. I mean, you literally, and that is a slight flaw of the game. The decisions here, you have frequent decisions, but it's kind of the difference between dumb choice and right choice. Because there's not a huge amount of difference between the cards for the most part, but really you're just looking at a card that either has victory points on it or doesn't. Because they tend to be high victory point, low bonuses, or high bonus, low victory points. So you're basically just looking at them and decide, well, which one do I want, the victory point or the bonus? Not that difficult, really. It's like, and you can easily tell, well, I don't need that much in the red, so fine, I'll take the victory point one. Or I'm really munchkin in yellow, well, I'll take the big yellow one then. It really isn't that hard to play this game, and nor is it the most strategic game in the world either. You are just basically, you're kind of roped into 1, 2, maybe, actually, pretty much just 2 different strategies in this game. And one of them is just basically multiple versions of the same thing. You know, there's one balanced strategy, which is hit or miss as to whether it works well. I'm not a fan of it myself. It involves you basically getting a balance on all the tracks and getting a balance of cards so that with these gold medals you can buy, you can get points for having one of every type of card, and they will multiply and go forward. So it's a good way to get some points, but the problem is if you try to balance everything, you're going to struggle for money because you really need money in this game. It is super tight, like beyond belief. But you do get a discount for having one of the same color cards. So you might have 4 blue cards and then you buy a card that costs 8 out of blue. It will only cost you 4 because you've already got 4 blues. So that's great if you're munchkining that color, but if you're going balanced, you're not going to get that discount. You're also not going to have that kind of like a decent amount of money. So it's very hard to get the balance strategy to work. Nobody I have seen has won with it yet. Typically what you will do is you will pick one of the 3 non-green tracks, munchkin it to beyond belief, and basically get your points from there. The problem is, I've only seen 2 of those work. You've either got yellow, blue, or red to munchkin. Munchkining green is kind of pointless, because green is literally just a food supply. You have to feed your people Y at the end of every year. And all you have to do is just have the track high enough to cover all your cards, otherwise you lose 1 and your stats adjust. I've seen 1 card be lost to food in the entire time I've been playing this game, and that was only because the guy wasn't really concentrating and missed it out. Nobody has lost by choice. It is really easy to get food in this game. It is almost a bit of a pointless mechanic to have in there, but oh well, it's a civilization game, you gotta feed your people, I guess. So you're typically doing red, blue, or yellow. Problem is, munchkining red isn't good enough. You get some decent points and bonuses from these colonies, but you choose whether to gain money or flip it over for a bonus, but you don't know what the bonus or points are until you flip it over, so it's luck of the draw. On top of that, the points for the reds aren't quite as lucrative as what you could get if you either do blue, which I have won the game doing with blue. You get all those statues, they generate a bucket load of victory points, and you know you're able to just basically harvest blue cards, which are getting you victory points for building the statues, but also a lot of victory points for just being blue. It's kind of similar to the culture in 7 Wonders. But the best strategy I have found in this game that works for most people on a regular basis is munchkin yellow. Munchkin Yellow is, I mean, money is everything. You need money to buy cards. Even if you get the discount, you need money to buy cards. And it's, you know, the colonies aren't enough to get you enough money to survive, because, you know, you start off with cards costing 1 to 4, then it's like 5 to 7, and then it's 7 to 9. That's a lot of money. You do not get that kind of money easily. You can sell a card, but in the first round you get 2. Second round you get 3, and next round you get 4. It doesn't, selling a card only gets you so much money. But if you have a lot of yellow, then twice every year you are getting a packet of income, like tons of income. All the money in the world to buy all the cards you want. And the medals themselves, if you buy them early, they're quite cheap, but later on they are stupendously expensive. And unless you have Munchkin Yellow, you're not going to be able to afford them. It's just too costly. So the easiest one, I'm not saying it's the most powerful, but certainly the easiest strategy I have found is you just Munchkin Yellow and then just buy whatever you feel like. You could technically mix yellow with a balanced strategy, because if you've Munchkined Yellow at the start, then you could basically buy whatever cards you feel like and just get the balance like for a couple of medals. But of course you're also getting points for the silver medals, which give you half of your point track. And if your income is that high, you could get quite a lot of points for them. So it's kind of like, and this is where a bigger problem lies, because the game itself, as you play it, the decisions are not that difficult, but they're frequent. And the game is very smooth. I mean, it is very elegant. You do the cards, then you do the free phases, then you do the cards again, then you do the free phases plus feeding, and then you rinse repeat. The only fiddly annoying bit is that you have to basically clear off all the cards and get the level 2 ones out, and then draw a certain amount for each. There we go, there we go, there we go. And then you get going. That's a little bit fiddly, but it's a small niggle. Apart from that, the game is very smooth. I mean, we're talking 7 Wonders level of smoothness here. I mean, if everybody is on the ball and knows what they're doing, then turn, 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 turn. Just like a 7 Wonders draft would be. You know, of course you have to say, is everybody ready? But you're kind of doing it simultaneously as well for that first round. So it's easy enough to sort of go, right, well, I've done mine. It doesn't really matter what my guy next to me is doing. I don't care if he discards it or sells it or whatever. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm going to discard this card and buy that one. It's, like I say, super smooth, super easy. So that's a big plus, I'll give it that. But here's the kicker. I've enjoyed this quite a bit for a short while. Those strategies get very samey after a while, because you are pretty much doing one of those two things. Munchkin of colour or balanced. There's nothing else. And because the game is so abstracted, you don't really feel like you're a big conqueror or like a culture builder or anything like that, because you are basically just levelling up a colour track and nothing else. Okay, 7 Wonders doesn't exactly feel like the most thematic game ever either, but I dare say it's a little bit more evident in that one than this, but not greatly. I mean, it is basically just cards with symbols on them. So, you know, they're both abstract drafters. But those strategies just get very samey, and 7 Wonders has the advantage of expansions on top, which gives it even more variety. Here, the cards are very similar. I mean, you're going to use all of the, well, in a 5-player game, you will use every single card out of all the colours except for purple. Purple's the only bit you will get some variety out of. Apart from that, you'll see every card. And the cards are not that interesting. I mean, here's, alright, I'm just going to go through yellow free ones, okay? Okay, $7, 4 victory points, levels up yellow by 3. Okay, $9, 8 victory points, levels your thing up by 3. $8, 4 victory points, levels your track up by 4. $8, 2 points, levels your track up by 4, and red also 1. I mean, that's all these cards are. They're not, the purple have got some interesting abilities, but you might not even see them in every game because they might not be in the game, and you might have already, you know, they might get discarded. So the card variety is not as interesting as I would like. I've enjoyed this for like the first like 5 or 6 games, but the enjoyment factor has dwindled as each game has gone by. Like I played it the first time, I thought, this is quite a neat little drafting game. Okay, let's go play this again. Second time, this is still a pretty neat drafting game. All right, let's try this strategy. Third game. Okay, I've done this before, but okay, it's not bad or whatever. Fourth game. Yep. Fifth game. Are we done yet? I want to play 7 Wonders. You know, it literally, it's going down and down. And I think the biggest issue with the game, as it has a lot of positives. Smooth, looks nice, easy to play, easy to teach. Probably easier to teach than 7 Wonders, I dare say. but it's not got a good replay value. The same two strategies are going to come up every game. The same cards are pretty much going to come up every game in a 4 or 5 player. You know, you'll see, oh no, a couple of cards aren't there. But you're not often playing this with 2 or 3 players. You're going to play this with 4 or 5, and you'll see just about every card in the game. You know, nothing changes with the player board. There's no player powers. There's no, you know, the colonies. There's only 5 for each colony, and they're pretty similar. Again, it's just tracks and a victory point score. Whoopie-doo. And even like the cost of the game is pretty prohibitive. I mean, this game like sells for beyond £40. I mean, I've seen it on what, like £45 typically. I don't know why it costs that much. I mean, literally, these boards are nice. I like it. Good. Pay for the boards. The cards are okay, but there's not that many cards in the game. They shouldn't cost that much. And there's a few very basic coins and some, you know, basic plus 10 tokens, fine. But I bet you anything, most of the cost went on these. You basically clip them together like one big jigsaw, and you end up with like the bits to put the cards in the discard piles. Looks nice on the table, gives it a bit of presence. It is completely unnecessary, you know, apart from the wheel. The wheel is the only bit that is needed because you have to know which deck you're going on. But if you could remember which deck you picked from, it really doesn't matter. It's like, which one am I doing first? Green? Okay, right, I'll start with green. Now which one? Well, it's clearly the one after green. You know, I can remember that sort of thing. But yeah, you could literally have just gone like, you know, zing, taken the wheel, put the decks in anything you like on a table in a tiny space, put the wheel in the middle, and then just twist it every now and again. Probably would shave a good few quid off the price, but 45's a lot to ask for a drafting game, and that is more than 7 Wonders retails for. Definitely, I know that for a fact. Overall mark-wise, I still give it props. I mean, I would give it a 6 overall. It's one that I'm not going to seek out, but if someone brings it to the table, I'll be like, you know, cool, yeah, let's play a bit of Hadara. But 7 Wonders Killer, no. And I mean, you can say I'm biased for 7 Wonders or something, but you know, it may have expansions and that. But yeah, 7 Wonders has the pedigree and the expansions right now. This is going to need a lot of expansions before it gets anywhere near that kind of level. But even then, I just don't know why I would play this over 7 Wonders. I just much prefer it. And if you have no interest in 7 Wonders whatsoever, if you don't want any of that comparison at all, and you want to just like think about it in a bubble, in its own isolation bubble, which isn't realistic, but still, it's still not a game that I feel like I want to play over and over again. I play it and then I go, right, well, which track do I want to do? Yellow, red, or blue? Well, I know red's not great, so blue or yellow or balanced. Pick one. First couple of turns, well, I've done pretty well on blue, so let's just carry on with blue, because you can't exactly chop and change your strategy throughout the game because it's too late. It's just a bit too samey, a bit too dry for my liking, but 6 is still a good score. I don't have the desire to seek it out or keep it in my collection. So that's Hadara, decent enough, but I feel like for the hype it was getting about being a 7 Wonders killer, I was expecting a lot more. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review. And until then, regardless of which way around you're spinning that little wheel, or whether you're the monkey, the crab, the snake, or scarab, dung beetle, almost thought, whatever, it's still only a game. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.